Now, one of the things about narcissists is that they're very superficial people. And many times when they pick out someone that they're dating or someone that they want to marry, they always are looking at the exterior. Well, they do care about the inside because they want to make sure they can control you and manipulate you. You have to be moldable for them. So that's why a lot of times they look for someone that they can control, someone with low self-esteem, someone who they think is weak. And a lot of times they kind of mispick people thinking that they're weak, and it turns out that they're not. But it goes back to them being selfish and superficial people. And a lot of times when you're dating someone, asking the right questions is really going to bubble up that real person behind that mask of the narcissist. That is the real importance when you're dating someone and you want to seriously have a relationship, marriage, is asking the right questions. And one of the right questions to kind of smoke out the real answers is ask them to describe the perfect person for them. And if it doesn't talk about their heart, talk about how much they have to love God, talk about how they should be patient, and that they want to have someone that's really good with the children, and that they know how to communicate properly. If it doesn't sound like that, but it sounds like, yeah, I want a woman who's curvy, she's got to have long pretty hair, she's got to be like 5'2", petite with big hips, and they're describing the outer parts of the person and they're not really thinking about the deeper things. That's a flag. I watch like godly videos that are Christian based, and one of the supposed ministers or pastors, he was describing what his perfect woman would be. And you know what it consisted of? She has to be like 5'2", no more taller than me. He's only 5'5". So she has to be 5'2". Now he does look decent in the face, and I think a lot of girls, sorry, I know I just went right and then left, but his face is cute, but because he's on camera, women don't really realize that he's really short. I'm not saying there's a problem with short people, but I'm just saying that they have all these specifications for what they want, but yet they don't measure up to other people's expectations. But anyway, sorry, I know I kind of veered off. But he was naming all these things, that she has to have long, pretty hair, 5'2", petite, really young, and, not naming anything about the inner self. Now, don't get me wrong. We all want to be somewhat attractive to our mate. I get that. But that should not be the heart of your focus on that other person. And so asking the right questions of a person is the most important. Now, I'm getting ready to show y'all this news story. Oh my gosh, this guy did his wife so dirty. Y'all gonna be shaking your head after you see what I'm getting ready to show you. But it really highlights how these narcissists are. They're really cold-blooded people. They are cold-blooded. They do not want to have the responsibility of you. They really don't. And if a narcissist does take care of you, it's because they're going to come into some money, or they don't want to have to work, and they know that you're the breadwinner. They're not going to stay without alternative motives. But anyway, let's together look at this news story and let's chat about it.
A panic's call to 911 from a husband who has made the worst blunder of his life. he accidentally set his beautiful wife on fire.
Ma'am, my wife is burning. Please hurry. We had a campfire and it exploded. We need help.
But she's not on fire now.
I put it out.
Last September, Courtney Walden and her husband Mitch were sitting by a campfire. They'd only been married for 2 months. The fire was dying out, so her husband threw gasoline on it, setting her ablaze.
Do you know what exploded?
Yes, ma'am. It was stupid on my part. I put gasoline on the fire and it exploded, okay?
27-year-old Courtney was rushed to the hospital with severe burns all over her face and 40% of her body. She spent 51 days in the hospital and underwent 20 surgeries.
I was sitting here by this fire.
This is Courtney today, describing the moment that changed her life forever.
I was sitting there, slapping my face constantly, trying to get it off.
Wow. As if that wasn't bad enough, life for Courtney was about to take another terrible turn. Just 2 weeks after getting out of the hospital, she says she was completely blindsided when her husband left her, leaving her with $2 million in medical bills.
You see what I'm saying? After only 2 weeks of her recovering from injury that he inflicted on her because he didn't have the common sense to move her away from the fire before adding gasoline to it, which is a common sense thing. Like, who does that? But it was his fault that she had all those burn injuries, and he could not wait to leave her. Because I'm telling you, these narcissists are very superficial. This is not a special isolated case. This is how narcissists are. You get sick on them, you get disability, you lose an arm, you lose a leg, and you're less attractive. I'm telling you, they're not going to stay long. And this is what they do. They start to give excuses on why the marriage isn't working out. They start doing things to sabotage the marriage and to almost make it look like it's your fault. And they'll do things to you to where you will end the marriage, so it makes them look better. Like, oh, well, I didn't in the marriage, Samantha did. She's the one who wanted the divorce. I didn't. But Samantha wanted the divorce because of all your cheating and shenanigans and you ignoring her and pretty much living like a roommate to her rather than a husband. But they do that on purpose and start fights on purpose and petty little fights on purpose. But anyway, but this is so common for these people. Let me also tell y'all a really quick story. For those of y'all who haven't seen any of my older videos, my other videos, I was adopted by a white family and a narcissist family. Oh my gosh, there's a whole posse of narcissists in that family. It's like, who's not a narcissist? Anyway, they adopted me for the wrong reasons, and once I served my purpose, I was discarded. So my adopted father, he was married 4 times. Both of my adopted parents were married 4 times each, okay? But my adopted father, I believe it was his 3rd wife, was dying of cancer. She was like terminally ill. Now, ask me, was he by her side, holding her hand, going through all that process with her? No. He was out cheating on her all the time. She had to go through all that pretty much herself without him because he was out there doing his own thing. And instead of enjoying what little time he had with his wife and making the most of that time, and it just really showed how cold-hearted he is. He's always been a cold-hearted person. And I mean, I know that he had a cold-hearted family, but just because you were raised in a trauma, neglectful family, that doesn't give you a green light to do that to other people. Anyway, so, but it was the fact that, wow, they will drop you like that once you don't meet their physical expectations. And I just had a last minute thought about that I wanted to add about my adopted father. His eldest son, who's older than me, had came to him with a dilemma, not knowing which woman to marry. I guess he was dating two women that he thought was possibility of marrying one of them. And you know what his father, my adopted father, said to him? Marry the one that's the skinniest, the most attractive one. And I'm sure he probably followed that up with financial stability and her job and career. Nothing about the heart, nothing about the inside patience of having a good woman for your children, nothing trustworthy, everything was exterior. And he was really serious about that. He wasn't kidding. He was serious. And if you know my adopted father, you would know he's not kidding. And he's not a guy with a sense of humor anyway, so you know he doesn't have jokes like that. So, I mean, I feel like I'd never seen that man smile. Probably maybe a handful of times I think I got a little grin. All right, back to, I just wanted to interject on that real quick.
Even though it was an accident, I have yet to receive, I'm sorry that I changed your life within a few seconds.
We caught up with Courtney's ex-husband.
I don't know exactly what I would be apologizing for because it was an accident.
Courtney claims her husband left because he couldn't deal with her injuries. He says it was because she threatened him.
I said, well, you're threatening to shoot me. She said, yeah, I'll shoot you right now.
Courtney says that never happened.
You see how these narcissists are? They want to take zero accountability for their actions. And they hate to apologize. They hate to say sorry. They can say the most evilest things to you, and they still will not apologize. They can do the most evilest things to you, and they still don't want to apologize. Only time a narcissist will probably apologize, even though they still won't mean it, is if it hinders them from getting something. So if there's something bigger that they want or they need to have or they need to stay in or whatever, and they know that if they don't apologize, they're going to lose it, then they'll apologize. Or they'll apologize if you keep going on and on. If that's what it takes to get you to be quiet and shut up, is for them to say sorry. If that's what it takes to get you to stop nagging for an apology, then that's another time they'll apologize. But obviously they won't mean it. They just want you to shut up. So, y'all, I just want to say one more story and then I'm going to end this video, because I also want to say that it's just not in a romantic setting about how narcissists are unapologetic and will do you dirty in this way when you're no longer desirable to them. But family members will do that to you too. Now, if you remember in the beginning of my video, I had mentioned that my adopted mother was married 4 times, and I believe it was her second husband that had a sibling who had a mental disorder. And I think what happened is, I think she had like an accident when she was a child, and it caused brain injury, and so she never matured. She stayed like an innocent child. But her family would treat her like the hired help, and her siblings would just ignore her, because when we would go and visit my stepfather's family, they treated her horribly, especially her own mom. And the way that she would talk to her like really mean and demanding and very unloving. And I remember her name was Helena, and I would always play with her because I thought that she was like my age. I mean, I knew she was in a grown body, but I played with her because her mind was like a child, and she would always have her do her hands like this and kind of be like this. And but I just always remembered, even as a child, how mean they were to her all the time. And I'm telling you, they had her do all the housework. They treated her like Cinderella. I'm not even kidding. Other than that, they didn't even know she was there. She just was just like a fixture in the house. But another thing, her mom was getting her married off to a man that was like twice her age. Because Helena would tell me that, yeah, I'm gonna get married. And she would show me who she was marrying, and he was old. He was like I said, like old enough to be her grandfather or her dad. And I'm like, her mom was marrying her off, knowing that she only had a comprehension of a child, and she was only like 19, 20, somewhere around there. So she was very young. But this guy was way older than her. And being a pervert, because he knew that he was like 20, 30 years older than her. And her mom was just as wicked to orchestrate that for them to get married. So I just really want to, bring this to light. And I know in the beginning of the video, I stated how important it is for us to ask the right questions, but it's also equally important for us to pray for the right things, like discernment, understanding, knowledge, and to have righteous judgments and things like that. Those are the things we should pray for God, so that the next time we get entangled with a narcissist, we won't allow them to waste our time, because we're going to see the signs much quicker. So, well, if you made it this far, I appreciate it. And I'll be sure to send you a certificate of completion in the mail.